Hey guys, it's Jan here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use the backtester. If you want to use the backtester, the first thing you need to do is you need to log into the demo account. In the email I send you the login details for the account where you need to log in to use the backtester. You just go to File, log into Trade Account. The account number is 1352735 and the password is 4SZPKOF. Make sure you select the demo server and then you log in. Okay, you'll probably get this trading is not allowed if you an invalid license, a few alarms. Don't worry about that. Just click OK. Then you need to insert on this account. You need to insert the backtester, right? So you click on Insert, Indicators, Custom, and then you find backtester _3. Right. So on this pop-up window, the very first thing you do is you go to the Common tab. Make sure you allow DLL imports. Then on the inputs, the access key is 123. Now that's on your set file anyway, so you don't have to worry about that. Just go to load and then you select the backtester.set file and then you click open. Okay, so as you'll see, the access key is 123. You don't put your own license key into this one. And you'll see the starting balance is 500. We can't really play with that at the moment because it will always take $10 trades. Now we are going to update a new version where you can actually put in your account value and then play around with different trade sizes. Okay, but for now, just leave the starting balance at 500. The remove unused pairs is true because the pairs that we're not going to trade, we want to remove them from the backtesting. Okay, we don't want to see the results from the pairs we're not going to trade. We only want to see the results of the pairs that we are going to trade. So you leave that on true. The balance check MA periods -1 to disable. Right, so that one is on 2. We leave that on 2. You're not going to play with those settings. This 150, the 1 and the 150, don't play with these settings. Okay, I'm going to explain that at a later stage, but for now all you need to know is that we are going to stop after one loss. So as soon as one of the 4 pairs we are trading, which is the Euro CAD, the Aussie CAD, the CAD Swiss and gold, it will stop after one loss. If you want to use the moving average, you need to specify the moving average you want to play around with, say the 20 moving average, and it needs to drop below the moving average just more than one loss, so say 10.01, and then it needs to come back within 9.99 of the moving average. Now, so just make it 150, which means that just means it's not going to get into play. The moving average is basically disabled with those settings. This balance check consec losses stop is the key figure here. We're going to leave it on 1. And then the maximum trades we're going to do at any given moment is 2. That just means that the auto trader won't open more than 2 trades at a time. So the backtester settings need to be consistent with the settings on the indicator. Okay, so this is what you can play around with. The pairs you want to include or exclude. So see this pairs ban option here? If I set that to true, it means it's going to exclude these 4 pairs and look at every single other pair that's available of the 25. So it will include the other 21 currency pairs. Now we don't want to do that. We just want to we're going to put that on false, and we only want to look at the results of those 4. Do you see how that works? So if I say that's true, it will ban whatever's in there. If I put that on false, it will only look at whatever's in there. So you can play around with that. Okay, you can play around with the different currency pairs and so on. But these settings I have found to work best in these market conditions. As I've mentioned in the previous video, the pound pairs and the dollar pairs are just not working this year. The market conditions have changed since December in a big way. The political climate in the US as well as in Britain has changed so much that it's become really difficult to trade those currency pairs. The technicals just keeps failing. So we've got to find pairs that actually keeps giving us good results. And these pairs, again, they are the best performing pairs so far. Right, so these zeros here, that's if you want to identify the best performing pairs. Remember, we've got a function where you can identify the best performing pairs over a certain amount of trades. So if I, for example, say it needs to look at the last 50 trades of each currency pair, it needs to have a win rate of at least 60%, and it needs to drop the pair when it drops below 58%. It will only look at those pairs once it hits the 60%. Now, this is not going to be necessary for now, okay? Because of the market conditions, we can't trade the dollar and the pound. If once those pairs have calmed down, I don't know how long it's going to take. Unfortunately, we can't wait for those pairs to calm down. We have to switch the auto traders back on. So for now, just leave them on 0. And then these 2 dates, that's how far back in time you want to go. So in this case, we want to have a look at how this auto trader has performed for this year, because this year has been the difficult one. If you select the 1st of January 2017, and then all you do over here on the second one is you just click on today, right? So it will go to the 10th of June. And then you need to name your file. Just call it stats1, for example. Now you need to, every time you test different settings, you absolutely must call this something else. Okay, so if you have a different setting, you got to call that stats2 for example, and then click save. So for now we're just going to go stats1. We're going to click OK, and if you click here on the experts tab, you'll see it will run through there. It's connected to the server. It will go through all 6,888 trades, and then until it says initialize, then you know it's just run through all the currency pairs, and it will give us the results based on those 4 currency pairs. Okay, so now to access the results, this is what you do. You go to File, Open Data Folder, click on MQL4, Files, and then you look for this. You can see I've done quite a few. So just find the one that you just recently named, and in this case it's stats1. Okay, and there's the date just to confirm it. So let's open that up, and here you'll see all the results have been exported onto a CSV file. And just to make sure that it did go back to the 1st of January, you'll see obviously the 2nd of January was the first trade. The starting balance was 500. Obviously the first trade was a winning trade, so that's why it says 508.2. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see that this year so far it's done 200 trades, and the balance is standing on $875.70. Now that's a 75% growth since January. Okay, so that is basically, well, we only just started in June, so the performance has been roughly about 15% per month for this year based on those 4 pairs. Now what I would like you to do is to just highlight the results right to the last one, then click on insert. You click on this icon over here, click on the 3D line, and you'll be able to see the chart. Okay, now you can see there's drawdowns, and that's probably the most difficult thing to get people to accept, and that is drawdowns. This auto trader doesn't just move in a straight line. They are always drawdowns. So your job is to go and study these results. You can play with different pairs if you want to see how all the pound pairs performed, or whatever you want to do. You can go and have a look at the results, and then what you need to do is you must study the drawdowns. So you can see, for example, here roughly at trade number 31, there was a peak, and then the drop up until about trade number, I don't know, about 45, something like that. So you go to trade number 31. It's obviously just roughly. Once you go there, you'll be able to identify the actual highest point. So if I go to trade number 31 there, you can just very quickly see there, it wasn't trade 31, it was trade number 34 that was the highest point, 589. Just highlight that in yellow. Okay, 589.7 was the highest point, and then you can see it start to drop. Now look at these losses. There's 4 losses in a row, 1 winning trade, 2 more losses in a row, 2 winning trades, 3 more losses in a row. Do you see what I mean? So there's always these drawdowns, and this is obviously the time when people start to freak out and panic. But it's always good to understand what the maximum drawdown is that you can expect. So let's have a look and see what the drawdown was in this case. So 589.7. Then we can have a look and see, okay, it went to 492.7 was the lowest one there. Let's just highlight that. Let's see if it dropped anything lower than that. No, it's picking up. You can see now we're in 600 again. So that is the lowest point. That was the peak. So just take your calculator. Then you simply just go 589.7 minus the lowest one, which was 492.7, and then you get 97. So $97 was the drawdown in this case. Okay. Now the $10 that we trade here, you see these $10. Obviously the loss is $10, and that's 2% because we always take 2% risk. To calculate your drawdown, first of all you need to divide that by 10, which is going to give you 1%. Okay, if you take 1% risk, then you multiply that by 2 because one trade is 2% risk. 19.4% drawdown. Okay, which is very much in line with what we're expecting anyway. So if this is too much for you, if you don't like the idea of, if you have a $5,000 account, it's going to go down to 4,000. That's, the worst case scenario if you just start out, because that's 20%. Okay, but obviously this account didn't go down to 400, this $500 account, because it first made money before we went through a drawdown. But you always got to prepare yourself for the worst case scenario. Always assume that whenever you start, you're going to go through that drawdown. So that's a 19.4% drawdown. Let's have a look at the second one quickly. The second one, you can see the peak was here at around trade number 91. So let's go to trade number 91. Probably won't be trade 91, but it will be definitely, a few trades up or down from 91. So you can see that's 686, but it did go higher to 711. That was the highest point. So it was trade 94 actually. So you just highlight that, and then you look at the drop, and you can see these losses here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see, this is 5 losses in a row. That's 10% of your account in like 2 days. Okay, so I want you guys to understand and realize how volatile this is. And if you can't handle the drawdowns of 20%, then you need to take smaller risks. But you've got to also accept that if you take smaller risks, then your return will also be smaller. Okay, so let's quickly identify the lowest point there. I think 626 looks like the lowest one, but no, there's a lower one there. 610, 610.8, and it actually went lower to 605. So let me just make that white again. So 605 looks like it was the lower. Let me just make sure it didn't go. Yeah, there it goes back up to 700. So this was the lowest point, 605.6. So if we look at 711, we just take our calculator again. We say 711.3 minus 605.6. Then you get $105.70 drawdown. Okay, so we divide that by 10. Okay, so that's a 10.57% drawdown on 1% risk, but we take 2% risk. So that's a 21.14% drawdown. Okay, so it's again, I mean, it's 1% more than 20%, but the drawdown is about 20% that you can expect. And the other thing you need to understand is that when we go through these drawdowns, again, they tend to happen in one go. Look at this. Okay, 2 losses, a winning trade. 2 losses again, a winning trade, 2 losses again, 1 winning trade, followed by 5 losses. Obviously, these are quite worrying times if you don't understand the longer term trend. Okay, so even on a smooth chart, now this is only on 6 months. We're going to go back and see what this looks like if we go all the way back to last year June. But you'll see that any setting that you test, you will find drawdowns, and it's going to be about 20%. Okay, and it's always scary when you go through them. And as I've already mentioned, if you feel very uncomfortable with these 20% drawdowns, you've got to reduce your risk to 1%. If 10% is too much for you and you feel comfortable with a 5% drawdown, then you need to reduce your risk even more, okay, to 0.5%. So let's have a quick look and see how these 4 trades have performed over the last year. Now, obviously, we wouldn't have traded these 4 pairs last year because last year the market conditions were really good for the other pairs to be traded as well. It's important that these 4 pairs that we're trading now also made money last year as well. Okay, because that will prove to us that during any market condition that these 4 pairs are really stable and safe to trade. So we go back to our chart here. You just right click, you click on indicators list, click on the backtester _3, edit, and then we're going to go, you click on the beginning date here, and we're going to go back all the way to last year, the 23rd of June, because that's when we started the main account that took all the trades. Okay, and then before we click OK, we got to change the name of the stats or the file name. So we're going to call that stats2, and then we're going to press OK. Just give it about 15 seconds just to go through all the results on the server, and then you go up here and you click on File, Open Data Folder, MQL4, Files, and then Stats2. So let's have a look and see what happened since last year June on these 4 pairs. Okay, so those 4 pairs, the $500 account will have grown into $1,188. So that's way more than 100%. It's not as good as the results we achieved last year, especially between September and November, when we'd done 100% in 12 weeks. But these 4 pairs have been running through December, January, February. They were all tough months. This year's been really tough. So let's have a look if we look at the chart here. So we just highlight the running total. We click on Insert. Click on that icon over there. Select 3D line. And there's the results. So it's not bad, but you still get your drawdowns. Now, the more trades you will have, and I mean, once you get like 3,000, 4,000 trades based on these filter settings, it will look like a straight line. But if you zoom in and you look at the drawdowns, you can see here, that was a drawdown this year. That was a 21% drawdown. That was the 20% drawdown. That looks like the 2 steepest drawdowns that we've had so far on these 4 pairs. But they are definitely the most stable and safest pairs to trade at the moment. So we're going to stick with them until further notice, really. But in the meantime, the backtester will allow you to play with different settings. Go and test different pairs. And if you want to play with these, the best performing pairs, if you want to put in like, it's got a, over the last 50 trades, it has to do at least 60% successful trades, and please drop it once it gets to 58. You can play around with that and look at the stats. Maybe you find something that works better than what I've just shared with you. Okay, but this is the backtester. That's how it works. It's fairly straightforward. The settings are exactly the same as the settings in the indicator. It's really good, so we can go back in time and have a look at how these pairs have performed. Right guys, that's it. If you have any questions on this backtester, as always, please feel free to ask.